Hello, very good morning. Hello. Okay. Yesterday we were discussing about reusable actions. Okay. So reusable actions are nothing but which are the repeatable steps you are having in your application from the test cases whatever you were picked up to go for automation. So what you will do is you will you'll be coming up with actions and make them as reusable. Okay, so those are nothing but like reusable actions. So reusable actions are of uh, majorly two types, so internal actions and external actions. Okay, so external actions are nothing but like external to this program. So whatever you are placing in actions folder you can consider as external actions. So internal actions are again divided into two types, two subtypes you can say. So reusable and non-reusable. Okay, so reusable are nothing but like within this program. Okay, within a specific program, which are the actions you are going to use again and again multiple times. Those actions you can consider as reusable actions, and non-reusable actions are nothing but like only for one time you will get a chance to use that action. Okay, so that is nothing but like non-reusable action. Okay, once you come up with the action, so you can insert in two ways. Those are nothing but uh, call to copy of action and call to existing action. So you are implementing very good framework means you can go for like call to existing action. So what it will do internally is it will give link from main program to sub program, that is call to existing action. Okay, okay, then call to copy of action means already existing action with little bit modification you have to use. So at that point of time you can go for call to existing action. Okay, sorry, call to copy of action. So you will copy original action from original location to here, and you will make necessary enhancements or changes, and you can use in your program. That is nothing but call to copy of action, but this one very rarely you will get a chance to use. Okay, so then we can go for like data driven testing, also you can consider as parameterization. Okay, so in manual testing front you could have come across one topic like retesting, means same test case multiple sets of different data you will be passing and executing. Okay, so that one you can consider as data retesting in manual front, but in automation front you'll call it as like parameterization. Also you can consider as data driven testing. Okay, so there are different ways of passing data to your qtp scripts. Okay, so how many ways you can pass data is how many ways you can make parameterization in qtp is through data table, through environment variables, through flat files, and through random number generators. Through flat files and through random number generators. So these are the different ways you can make parameterization in qtp. Okay, so we go one by one. Okay, if you remember yesterday we come up with a script we come up with like reusable actions for login, compose mail, and logout actions we come up yesterday, right? Okay, so this action is the reusable login action I have opened here. This one, how many times you execute? Every time it will be executing in live environment like Gmail, URL, and username and password, it will be taking always same for this username only. But your requirement is it needs to be automation. Main advantage is like it needs to be executed in multiple environments and multiple releases. So this one should not work. So you have to make it parameterization. Okay, so you have to make it parameterized means, so in QTP one built-in feature you will come across, so that is nothing but data table. Okay, so that is nothing but data table. So this is QTP built-in feature. So with the help of this data table you can pass data, and from there your script can take data. Okay, so this data table is nothing but like looks like Excel. In your Microsoft Excel you will get different sheets, right? So sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3 like that. Exactly here also you are getting by default global sheet and local sheet, global sheet and local sheet. Okay, so that one you can call it as like action. Whatever the action name here you are given, that name it will take by default. Okay, so it's like any of the programming language if you go for. So global variables and local variables will be there, right? So the scope of global variables is across program you can use it, but local variables within that specific function or action, right? Exactly, these sheets also you can use in such a manner. Okay, so now my login action I have to reuse, that means I have to make it parameterization. Okay, so how I can make it parameterization? So I have to make it parameterization means I have to pass that data, which are the parameters, which are the data you have to pass for this action through data table. Okay, okay, so for login which are the parameters you can pass? Username and password, only username and password? No, URL also you have to make parameterization. Okay, why? You will get a chance to execute in multiple environments, right? So development environment, SIT environment, MIT environment, production environment. So for those environments URL get vary, right? URL get vary. So URL also needs to make it as parameterization. Okay, so username, so you have to change column names in your data table. So how you can change is you go there and double click, you go column name title and double click, it will give you some window for changing the name of that column. Okay, so username, password and username and password. Okay, so now this URL okay, now you will pass data like that. So now you have to read data from your data table means one simple command you will use, data table dot value. Okay, so here you have to pass two parameters. Okay, so what is the column name and from which sheet? Okay, so what is the column name and from which sheet? Okay, for data table dot value you have to pass two commands. two columns. Okay, so two parameters. So what is the parameter and what is the column name and from which sheet. So remember, if it is global sheet, you don't want to pass in double quotes. If it is local sheet, you should pass in double quotes. That is one important change you have to remember. Okay, so if it is global sheet, you don't want to pass in double quotes. If it is local sheet, you have to pass in double quotes. Okay, so global sheet also you can pass it as like dt okay, this is another way of passing data. Even sheet number also, sheet id also you can give it up. Okay, so and sheet id starts from 1 2 3 something like that. Okay, even data table dot value you are given, right? So value also optional, directly you can give data table. Okay, value, even that is also another way of reading data from your data table. Okay, so here the purpose of data table is how many times you will pass data, those many times automatically gets executed in your QTP. You don't want to do anything. Okay, so how many rows of data you are passing in your data table, those many times it will get executed automatically. Okay, so you don't want to do anything. That is the advantage of your QTP tool. Okay, so in WinRunner also you will come across like data driven testing, but you don't have this kind of built-in like integrated kind of data table. So external XLS file you will try to pass the data, but for reading that, for importing that external XLS file to data table to your WinRunner, you have to follow some additional steps. But here this is not the case. Okay, entire stuff QTP will take care. Okay, for close I don't have any command here, so that's why I'm manually closing. So here I have given wait 20,000 seconds. That much time you have to wait means it's a bit difficult, right? So you can pause your script and run again. So what it will do is it will try to skip that step. Okay, so remember, in your script wait statements are there. So during runtime you can pause and run, means those steps will get skipped. Okay, see here, now second iteration, right? So second row got enabled, second row got enabled from your data table. Okay, so I am pausing and clicking on run button again. It has enabled third row, you see. That means now it's executing third row. Okay, so you don't want to do anything manually. How many rows of data you are passing here? I am passing like same data again and again, but next tomorrow you will pass different sets of data, so you don't want to execute for same set of data again and again, right? So different sets of data you can execute it. Okay, so what is the thing here is like I forgot to change the parameters. Okay, so here URL only always I'm passing. Okay, so that is not the case, right? So username and here you have to pass password. Okay, so I forgot to change parameters. Okay, okay, so if you go like file settings, here run tab, if you select, here you are getting like three options: run one iteration only, run on all rows, run from specific row to specific row. Let us suppose you are having 10 rows of data. You have to execute your scripts for 10 different sets of data. You can go for run on all rows. By default, it will be selected run on all rows. No, you don't want to execute for all those rows. Just only once you have to execute. You can go and set first option like run one iteration only. Okay, sorry. Now you have 100 rows of data. From 100 rows of data you want to execute 10th row to 20th row. So here 10 to 20 you can mention. So what it will do is it will get execute 10th row to 20th row. Okay, so that is what you can control here in settings. Okay, so that's what you can control in your settings. Okay, so I have given one iteration. Okay, so how many times it will get execute now? Click on OK button. So if I run, how many times it will execute? Only once it will execute. Okay, so now it's logging into your application, right? So earlier what is the thing is okay, see it stopped, you see. Earlier what is the thing is you are given wrong user parameters, you are misplaced. Okay, so now it's executing. Now what I'm doing is I'm going to settings, file, settings, run tab. So what I'm doing here is like run on all rows. By default run on all rows, right? So I have selected run on all rows, apply and click on OK button. See here, so one action I have here 3 parameters. Like that 10 actions are there. And an average 3 parameters you have, let us suppose. So 10 into 3, 30 parameters. Composable, if you take composable itself, you will get like 10 parameters, more than 10 parameters. Okay. So if you pass all parameters in global sheet, so it will be little bit difficult to manage, right? It's little bit difficult to manage. So which all are the fields you will get a chance to use across multiple actions? Those one you can put in global sheet. And which all are the fields you are using only local in specific action? Those fields you can put in local sheet. so that maintenance will be easy, right? So URL, username and password you will get a chance to use only in this action, right? So instead of passing these parameters in global sheet, what we can do is you can pass local sheet. Okay, so copy and pass these parameters in local sheet. Okay, so URL column names I'm trying to change. By default you are having ABC, username, password. Okay, so in global sheet I will try to delete these rows. Okay, oh god, this is the problem here. Okay, in global sheet I have deleted all the things. In local sheet I am trying to pass. So here instead of global sheet you have to pass in local sheet, right? Okay, so instead of global sheet, okay, you have to pass in local sheet name. Okay, so as I said, if it is local sheet you have to pass in double quotes. Okay, so here dt global sheet you can give, dt local sheet you can give. Okay, so you just remember I'm passing as of now 2. Okay, so sheet id also you can use it up. So now if I execute, so how many times it will execute? 3 times, right? Why executing only once? It should execute 3 times, right? Okay, but it's executing only once. Why? If you go for settings, file, settings and run tab, here you are set run on all rows. Remember, these settings applicable only for global sheet, not for local sheet. Okay, so in global sheet how many rows of data you are passing, those many times you skip a trace, but not for local sheet. Okay, so in local sheet how many rows of data you are passing, QTP doesn't consider, it will just execute only once. Okay, so those settings will be applicable for global sheet, not local sheet. Okay, so here in global sheet you don't have any data, means by default it will get executed only once. Okay, this is simple thing you have to remember. Okay, but my requirement is even how many rows of data I am passing in my local sheet, those many times I have to iterate, right? So if that is my requirement, then how I can come up with? So very easily you can come up with that one, but with little bit code you have to come up with a little bit scripting. Okay, so here you see data table data. If you give, there are so many methods you are getting. Okay, so get row count. If you give how many rows are there, that one it will return. From a specific line you have to execute means control F5. Place cursor from where you have to execute and give control F5. Okay, so what is giving? Get current row. What is returning? 0. 0 is returning. So in global sheet you don't have any rows, right? So that's why it's returning 0. Okay, but you have to perform operations per your local sheet. So how you can perform? So data table dot get sheet. Okay, so what is the sheet? Okay, just a sheet name you can give it up. So it will fetch row count from that sheet. Okay, now it's returning 3. Once you get row count, then what you can do? You can iterate those many times, right? So you can put in for loop for I equal to 1 to those many times x. Okay, so this is what you can give. Then finally one more statement you have to give, data table dot set for a specific sheet, right? This is for specific sheet. Okay, so data table dot get sheet dot set current row I. Whenever I iteration is 1, it will enable first row. Iteration is 2, it will enable second row. Iteration 3, when okay, it will enable third row. Okay, so set current row I. What it will do is whatever the row you want to execute, that row it will get enabled. So you have to perform data driven testing for your local sheet. So at that time this is the way you can perform. Okay, so this is nothing but like through data table. Any questions, anybody? Any questions? Okay, 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 so this is nothing but like your data table. Okay, Okay, so output points are there, right? So you can get it up. Okay, so like this you are using data table, let us suppose for 1000 scripts. Before executing, that means like before putting execution, so what you have to do, you have to go for 1000 scripts, you have to open and you have to update with your test data and have to execute. Means how much time it will take? It will be like too much time consuming, right? So that is the drawback of your data table. Except that each and everything is pretty good. Only the thing is 1000 scripts you have to open and you have to update, then you have to, and another major important point thing is like automation you are coming up with means automation expert will be the domain expert. Okay, so automation engineer will get domain knowledge from domain expert and develop framework. That framework give it to a domain expert. So domain expert what he will be doing is he will be using this framework for testing the entire application. So domain expert is good in domain, not in automation. So he may not be aware of like how to open test scripts, how to update the data. He is not technical guy, right? So he may not be aware of. So if that is the case, your automation purpose entirely deviating. So to this is the drawback of your data table. Okay. So in real time you don't use for like data table. So but which one you will use? Through flat files we were discussing, right? Flat files are nothing but like Excel files or text files or INF files or XML files. In either of the way you can use. Okay, but flat files, Excel you can pass data. In real time you will be using Excel sheets for passing test data to your framework, to your automation scripts. Okay, how you will use that one you have to understand, means you should be aware of like VB scripting. Okay, so flat files concept I will be explaining in your VB scripting front. So as of now you can leave the topic. I will explain you like how to create Excel object, how to read the data from XLS, and how to write data to XLS, each and everything I will explain you during VB scripting front. As of now you can ignore the topic. So then another way of making parameterization is like environment variables. Okay, what is local variable? Within a specific function you are using. So that is local variables. The scope of a specific variable is global, means anywhere within that script you will use. So that is nothing but like global variables. Environment variables means across multiple scripts. You can remember very simply, across multiple scripts. That means one framework. That means one environment, right? So across that environment, some variables you may get a chance to use, right? So those are nothing but like environment variables. Okay, so across one environment you are using specific variables. So those are nothing but like environment variables. Okay. Okay, if you go for like file, settings, environment. Okay, so here one list box you are seeing there, built-in and user defined. Built-in environment means for QTP some variables, environment variables, they were already defined for specific purpose, right? So those are nothing but like built-in environment variables. So here whatever you are seeing, these are nothing but like built-in environment variables. Okay, the scope of these variables you cannot change. Okay, so let us suppose client want to get to know for a specific application it needs to be executed in multiple environments, right? You should work on different operating systems, different databases and different browsers. Okay, so client want to get to know in which browser is executing, that one needs to be displayed in your results. So at that time you can go for like OS, exactly OS version needs to be displayed. So at that time you can go for like OS version. Okay. So built-in environment variables you have to use means it's very simple. So environment dot value. So what is the parameter name? Remember this is case sensitive. Okay, so it's displaying, right? Exactly, you have to get to know what is the version. Okay. Fine. So 6.1.7.7601, this is the version of this operating system. Okay, so this is how you can go for using your environment variables. Exactly, here you see so many action name, action iteration, group name, product name, service test, data test case, like that. Different things you have to use means you can go for environment variables. Okay, so these are built-in environment variables. The scope of these variables you cannot change. Then you come up with like user defined. So here you have to define your own environment variables. So username, so Rama, let us suppose. Okay, so password something, here you can give it. So if you define like this, so these are user defined. So username, if I give, it will display username. Right? So this is the way you can use your global variables and local variables. Okay, and one more important thing you have to remember, like you can export. Okay, so you can export even your local variables. So you want to export means export in the form of XML. Okay, environment XML you are taking, click on OK button. So what it will do is it will get export to that location in the form of XLS. Okay, see here. Okay, so you will change, you will edit. So let us suppose you have to pass URL also. Okay, so URL, so change it up. So now you are made it 3 parameters. Okay, 3 parameters. So you go QTP and you can import from external XLS files as well. You go environment, so built-in environment user defined, then select this one. Okay, so load from external file. Okay, so this is the way you can import from external XML files. Okay, so this is nothing but like environment variables. So another way you can use environment variable is nothing but like environment dot value. So employee ID. Okay, equal to okay. So this is first one, environment variable username, fine. Okay, so this statement is returning like employee ID, whatever you got assigned, then employee ID, nothing is returning. Okay, so this is environment variable. So this is environment variable, you are assigned value. So wherever you want in another program or another action, you can directly use environment dot like this. But if you give like this one QTP considers as local variable. Okay, QTP treat it as local variable. Okay, this is another way you can use your environment variable. So you can pass data from one action to another action. Okay, so this is nothing but like environment variable. Another way of making parameterization is random number generator. Okay, so let us suppose you are having 100 rows of data, but for executing those 100 rows of data is taking like 40 hours, let us assume. But night execution means how much time you will get? Only 8 hours. But here you don't have enough time, right? But here my point is like whenever you don't have enough time for executing those many rows, what you will do is, instead of executing for all those rows, due to time constraints, you can pick up one row of data dynamically and can go for executing. Okay, so instead of executing 100 rows of data, so you will pick up one row dynamically, and for that test set you will try to execute. So if you go for that kind of stuff, so that is nothing but like that one, this kind of execution how you can handle is with the help of random number generator. Okay, so it's very simple. X equal to random number, so which row to which row you have to execute, that one it will take randomly. Okay, so 20 is taking once. Okay, so now what you can do, data table dot set current row X, so it will enable 20th row and it will pick up the data from 20th row and execute. That's it. Okay, So whenever you don't have enough time, so at that point of time you can go for like okay, environment variables. Perfect. Okay, so this is nothing but like your data driven testing. Flat files we have left, so flat files we will be explaining in your VB scripting portion. Okay, so in real time this is very important topic, and in real time you will be using through flat files only, but that one I will be explaining in VB scripting front. So very powerful concept. Okay. So you have even in a framework like data driven framework, at that time this is the concept you will be going to use. Okay, so this is nothing but like your data driven testing. Any questions, anybody? No questions? Good.